Hi, everyone. I'm Elaine Quijano at the YouTube space in New York City. Welcome to the Millennial Town Hall Campaign 2016. We are excited to be here with a group of 30 millennials from all across the country, all political persuasions. We have a lot to get to, and so let's begin. I want to start off getting a sense of how you're feeling right now, how all of you are thinking about this election. And to kind of focus the mind a little bit, I'm going to tell you about this study. A recent UMass Lowell Odyssey poll of millennials recently found nearly a quarter of millennials surveyed would prefer a meteor strike to either of the major party 2016 presidential candidates. Is anybody here at that point? Who's at that point and why? I want to hear from you.
I'm Olivia Korn, I'm 19 years old, and I'm actually undecided. I'm a very proud conservative, but I don't think that Donald Trump represents the Republican Party. And I have grown up my entire life hating Hillary Clinton because she is the quintessential example of what I want very far away from the White House.
Hate is a strong word.
Yes.
Yeah? Tell me about that.
I think she is a very corrupt politician. I do not think that she would represent this country well. And I think that she should never have been given the nomination.
Let me ask you this. Folks have talked about recently this Access Hollywood video that's come out with Donald Trump. What did you think when you saw that, Olivia?
I thought it was horrible, but at the same time, we've had philanderers in the White House before, JFK, LBJ, Bill Clinton, and I don't think that stops someone from doing their job. While I definitely condemn what he said on the tapes, I don't think that is representative of how he will perform as a president.
What about folks here that share the feeling about Hillary Clinton? We got some news that the FBI is going to be looking back at some new emails. You're nodding your head, sir. What do you think about that?
My name's Raymond Curtis. I'm undecided. It's disappointing, especially so close to the election. I'm not one of the ones that raised my hand because I want a meteor to strike. I believe in the system that we have established here in the United States over 250 plus years, because as much as I despise Donald Trump and everything that he represents and everything that he's trying to do to this system that I love so much, I served in the military for 6 years. I went to war. And so it's, I have a very deep set love for our rights. And I think that he's seeking to strip those away from us. And to see that his opponent is someone like Hillary Clinton it's incredibly disappointing, because I want to see him shut down. I want for Americans to say to the rest of the world that Donald Trump in no way represents our morals.
First of all, we thank you for your service. Let me turn to Caitlin. Yes, Caitlin, let me ask you. You just heard Raymond there describe the things that he's looking for in a commander-in-chief, and how he doesn't see those things in the person that you support, Donald Trump. What do you think about that?
Well, I first just want to say thank you for your service. I think it's very admirable. We need to remember that he said we need to take care of these people, and that's something that I think should be emphasized a lot more. Trump wants to get our veterans off the streets. That's a huge problem. We're seeing it here in New York City. We're seeing it all across the country. I haven't heard Hillary Clinton propose any policies to help our veterans get off the streets. Hillary Clinton wants to accept more refugees. Why should we accept more refugees when we have homeless veterans? I just think it's a bad idea.
So tell me, Caitlin, what do you think of this latest news that the FBI is going to be looking at some new emails now? We've seen this steady drip, drip, drip of the WikiLeaks hacked emails. We've heard the stories about possible conflicts of interest with the Clinton Foundation. What are your thoughts on all of that?
Her emails should have been reviewed the minute that it was found out that she deleted 35,000 emails. The FBI director came out and said that, none of her emails were classified information, but now we're hearing something different. So I think it really goes to, the corruption of Hillary Clinton. You can't believe anything she says.
Who else feels that way here? Show me your hands. All right, why do you feel that way, sir?
My name is Edersham. I'm 19 years of age and I support Gary Johnson. Throughout her term, whether it be 10 years ago or 15 years ago, she said quite a lot of stuff, and it's becoming more and more evident that what she said is not 100% true. As citizens and we're dealing with politicians, we sort of have a tendency not to trust everything they say. But when you're having a politician who's running for the presidency of the United States, arguably one of the greatest positions in the world, you have to have a better sense of confidence. You have to have a better sense of trust with the president.
Why Gary Johnson?
The reason why is that I look at Gary Johnson and I see someone who hasn't gone the traditional path. He hasn't supported Democrats, he hasn't supported Republicans. He's gone his own path in libertarian policies. And he's implemented stuff and he's done amazing things that have caused me to understand why he's doing what he does. His policies have made me understand that he's the right candidate for me.
I'm just curious, did you have your hand up for the meteor strike?
I did not. I actually did. You can check the camera. I didn't.
All right. Lauren, let me ask you, because we've been hearing a lot about the two major party candidates. We talked about the Hillary Clinton latest email development that the FBI director is now saying they're going to be looking into some new emails. What do you think about that?
Hi, I'm Lauren French. I'm 27, and I'm with her. I think the email issue has kind of been run to the ground, right? I think we've already established that the emails have come out. She's already addressed them. We can continue to make this an issue and discuss it, but the fact is we have two primary candidates and we need to make a decision. One of them will be leading our country, and unfortunately it won't be an independent candidate who will ultimately become president. So if we have Donald Trump and we have Hillary Clinton, who are we going to elect?
Okay, yes. You want to say?
Hi, my name is Margot. I'm 33 years old and I'm a Hillary Clinton supporter. I wanted to actually go back to the trust issue. I worked on the Hill for a year and a half. I worked for a senator. I've worked in the administration, and I was a military officer for 6 years. So I think that when I say that I know government officials, I actually do. And the idea that anyone says they do or do not trust a person is kind of a joke to me, because you don't know these people at all. And the more that a person makes you feel like they're authentic, the more that they're acting. So I'm sorry that Hillary Clinton isn't the best actor and that she's much more of an introvert and much more of a policy wonk, but she is a person who has worked in the government for 30 years. She hasn't been pushed out by people who are, intent on doing her. This country has spent more than $7 million investigating the Clintons and hasn't found anything in nearly 30 years. So either she's a criminal mastermind or this entire justice system is completely inept.
So we are going to actually turn to policy, because you mentioned that, because the number one issue that millennials say is important to them are jobs and the economy. Let me ask you this. A recent USA Today Rock the Vote survey found that 41% of millennials said jobs and the economy was the most important issue. And I'm wondering, what concerns you most about this issue? What's your biggest concern? Yes.
I'm Jamie Keefe, 33 years old. I'm also a former military officer, served in the Marines for 5 years. One of the things that strikes me is income inequality. I'm undecided, leaning a little bit more towards Hillary, but I see people busting their rear ends every day in factories, day in and day out, getting meager raises, and there's some folks at the top who have been doing very well. I mean, look at the data. The data shows over the past 10, 15 years, inequality's really grown in this country, and we need to do more to bring more young folks like around here today. I feel a little bit old in this crowd, but there's so many jobs out there in manufacturing and as well. Good jobs in this country. We need to bring more people on and have a more level playing field.
Well, so this poll also found that 56% of millennials said Hillary Clinton would do more to improve the economy. 28% said Donald Trump would. Anthony, let me ask you, you are a Trump supporter. Why do you think Donald Trump would do more to improve the economy?
I'm Anthony Arpaia, 20 years old, unapologetic American, and full-blown deplorable Trump supporter. Listen, we have more people on welfare. This is becoming a generation of give me this, I'm entitled. It's disturbing.
I actually want to make sure we get in this social media video that we received from Sarah in St. Louis on this topic of the economy. She's got some big concerns. Let's take a listen.
Hi, I'm Sarah, 33 years old, from St. Louis, Missouri. And as a working mom of 3 trying to raise a young family, the number one concern that I have this election would have to be the economy. I'm concerned at the lack of adequate growth in the economy. I'm concerned that we continue to lose good jobs overseas. And I'm concerned that not enough attention is being spent on how we address the unsustainable national debt. This last area is of huge concern to me personally, given it's a burden that's going to be passed on to my generation, along to my children and my grandchildren.
All right, who here agrees with Sarah?
My name is Earl Brown. I'm a senior millennial. I guess I'm 30 years old. But I'm undecided, but leaning more towards Clinton. This affects me personally as someone who deals with higher education, and I help oversee a career service department at my college, and I deal with students every single day who are a lot of first-generation college students, and that's their mindset. I'm, spending my investment, my time, my money into college education to better myself in the community, but I'm so unsure about what's out there for me. And a lot of people have distrusted in a lot of our candidates. I think the word job needs to be substituted for career, because the American dream, when it was ages ago, was about a career, working for a company for 20, 30 years, building my family, buying a house. This mindset of a job where I come out there and I spend all this money for my education where I'm getting a job, I don't want a job, I want a career.
How many of you here have had college debt or you will soon have college debt, student debt? It's pretty much almost all of you. How many of you have had or currently have over $30,000 worth of student debt, which is the national average? All right, so a sizable chunk here. Is that the number one issue for some of you? Debt, student debt? Yes.
We do need to put education first. We do need to deal with how much it costs. Like if you don't, it is a top tier thing. If you don't have the money to pay $45,000 a year to go to Columbia, then you're probably not going unless you've done something like nearly lost your life at war, which isn't fair. We have so many great minds that are spread out all over, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Kentucky, Texas, Louisiana, Alabama. The great minds, great thinkers, who could also step up and be a bipartisan, and on the Republican side against the Democratic side, which is how this country was built. And we're not letting them. We're focusing it in these these East and West Coast schools and these East and West Coast families, and leaving out the middle completely. And it's scary.
Who haven't we heard from on this issue especially? I want to get someone who maybe hasn't spoken. Go ahead. Yes.
My name is Alyssa Mark-Salemo. I'm undecided. I'm 27 years old. By the time I'm finished with my education, I'm going to have over $200,000 in debt. For what I plan to do, I'm currently seeking my bachelor's in healthcare management. Following that, I'm going to go for my master's. In order to get a better career, you're forced into higher education, forced into this debt, and regardless of the type of college that you choose, whether it's state funded or like a state school or for-profit, you're going to have debt. That's just what it is. Every high school student knows, like, I am going to have debt. That's it. So for me, in order to provide for my family, I have 2 small children and then 2 teenage stepchildren. I'm already thinking about college. I'm in college myself. I'm going to have to pay for college of teenagers in 1 year and 2 years coming. I don't know how I'm going to do that with my fiance. We're both working class citizens. How am I going to pay for my own college, let alone 4 children in succession and coming in very quickly? I don't think really either candidate has posed a good enough stance in that sake. So many things have been said by politicians, and these things have never been truly enacted, or if they have been enacted, such as Obamacare, it's fallen apart. So where is the solution for us?
I'm Megan Von Elm. I'm 23 years old, and I am undecided, leaning towards Trump. I'm a registered Republican. That's been my major concern throughout all of this. I graduated my undergrad last year in 2015. I worked for a year, and now I'm back in grad school pursuing a master's degree in public relations. And because I'm going to be in so much debt, I can't like buy my own house, or like even rent an apartment in New York. I'm from New York, so like renting a little studio apartment is super expensive. So I'm like, I want to be able to grow up, and even though I'm only 23, I want to be able to get my own car, get a place to live, and have that dream job. But because of the college debt and because of everything that's going on, I'm concerned that I'm never going to have that, and I'm concerned that in my children in the future will never have that as well. It's all about pursuing your dream.
Megan, you said you're leaning towards Donald Trump. Why?
He is bombastic, and he says a lot of stuff that I absolutely 100% do not agree with, but at the same time I don't want to support a liar and someone who I do not trust with the life of me, and especially with the future. And I think that even though Donald Trump has said things that I do not agree with, he's also said stuff that I do agree with.
Do you think there's something specific on this issue that he is, that you like, that you've heard?
That's the problem, is that this is one of the only things that I know about Donald Trump and that he hasn't really talked about, and that's what's concerning me about him.
All right, I want to turn to another topic here, and that is the issue of civil rights. This was also among the top 5 issues in that poll that I mentioned at the outset. But a recent poll found that 85% of young African Americans and 72% of Hispanics believe their race is under attack in the U.S. I wonder, why do you think that is, some of you? What is behind that, you think? Yes, sir, in the corner.
My name is Richard Lucas III. I'm 23. I think your social location informs how you view politics and how you view this election. So viewing this election from the perspective of the black community, I think neither party has done anything to warrant an endorsement or the vote of the black community. One party has endorsed a bigot, a racist, sexist, xenophobia. The other party has endorsed someone whose politics as usual, the face of American exceptionalism and imperialism. So neither party deserves the black vote. For some reason, we have this sense of loyalty to a party that has not yet shown its loyalty to us in terms of legislation, in terms of speaking out about things that directly affect African Americans in this country.
Before we go on, I want to just read a couple of quotes here and get your thoughts on this. Hillary Clinton has said that people should acknowledge implicit bias exists across society, even in police departments. Donald Trump has said that he'll restore law and order. He's also talked about the irresponsible rhetoric of President Obama, who has used the pulpit of the presidency to divide us by race and color. What do you think about that rhetoric? Yes.
Hello, my name is DeJuan Patterson, and I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. I am a Hillary Clinton supporter as of now, and this particular topic and that statement that you made is something that's really dear to my heart because I'm a gun violence victim turned champion, and I was also seen as a criminal by the police in my victimhood. So knowing that there are particular biases that play against people of color when you go inside some of the low-income areas. So when we're talking about there needs to be some type of a level of accountability on police, we have to enforce that. And one of the ways that I'm in support of Hillary, because I believe that she will begin to sustain some of the progressive policies that the Obama administration have done when we're talking about criminal justice reform. And when you hear about the candidate Donald Trump, he used these terms of law and order, and that's just code word of old rhetoric when you're talking about when this white supremacy, white power, being tough on crime. And we have seen what tough on crime equates to is mass incarceration, private prisons that tend to lock up people of color and over-sentencing them and then leave them to go back inside the neighborhood as second-class citizens that cannot participate inside this Democratic Party system anymore.
What happened to you, DeJuan? Tell me about that. You're a victim of gun violence, you said.
Going into my senior year in high school, I was just leaving my summer job. I was robbed and shot in my head. And if that wasn't enough for those gunmen, they left me there believing that I was dead. And once they left, with an ounce of vision left, but an extreme amount of strength, I got back up and I was wondering, looking for help. And in that moment, when I was wondering for help, I look up and I was staring down the barrel of another gun. And this time it wasn't the barrel of a gun from someone else trying to rob me. This time I was looking down the barrel of the police. Now you will not see this happen in some of the affluent neighborhoods across the United States, but inside my neighborhood, this is a daily life reality where we cannot close the browser when this type of things are happening, when we cannot change the channel when these type of things are happening, or we cannot call on our mommy or our daddy who have political affiliations to make sure those officers are reprimanded for that. So it was up to me to now bring about those solutions for the person in front of the gun and behind the gun to hold police accountable.
How did you feel in that moment?
In that moment, only thing I could think about was not being killed by the police in front of my cousins, my family members.
Where's Ryan? Ryan Quattromani. Ryan, let me ask you, first of all, what goes through your mind when you hear something like that? You're the son of a former police officer, is that right?
My name is Ryan Quattromani. I'm 20 years old, and I'm voting for Trump in this election. When I hear a story like that, I thank God you're alive and everything worked out and you're here with us today. I think there's a huge issue with criminal justice and police relations with all people, I think. You mentioned my dad as a police officer. He actually recently retired because he didn't feel really safe anymore. He served for 28 years, and he looks at what's happening in the country with police, Black Lives Matter movement and things like that. And, he doesn't think that now when you pull over a car that he's safe. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. And I think when you talk about police officers, you have to remember that they're people too. They have families they're going home to. I know it firsthand. I think there are bad police officers. I think, there's plenty of corrupt police officers. I think there's corrupt people in every organization. But I think Obama hasn't done a decent job at helping the African American communities. I thought he would do a lot more than he did, and I think Hillary Clinton is part of that. So it's an issue that's personal to me, but I do support our police, and I think we do need law and order in this country.
What about that notion that DeJuan was saying that, when they hear that, it sounds like something else to them. It sounds like something. Yeah,
and I understand, what he's saying with you hear law and order, and you think that everybody's going to be locked up and arrests, and I just think that violence overall needs to be addressed in the country. There's plenty of white people that are in situations like that. I think. I don't think it's a racial issue. I think it's a people issue, and I think the police haven't been represented in Washington. I don't think they feel like they're being supported now. So I think Trump will do a better job with the police. He said it before. The Fraternal Order of Police have endorsed him. So I hope we can work on that relationship between police and community.
All right, Ryan, a lot of hands are going up. Let me go over here to this woman.
My name is Elise. I'm 20 years old, and I'm supporting Hillary. I think what's really troubling is this sort of division, saying like if you're pro Black Lives Matter that you're automatically anti-police. That's not what the situation is. I do agree that I think as a whole our system needs to just be reformed. There needs to be adequate training for police officers. There needs to be, I believe there should be body cams. I believe police officers should be held accountable for their actions. I don't think the entire criminal justice system is completely corrupt, but I think there needs to be reforms that are made.
There's an interesting stat that I think can kind of add to this conversation. A recent poll found that millennials' respect for police has gone up in the past year from 50% to 69%. Now, I don't know what your reaction to that is. Some people might find that surprising, but I want to go back to Ryan for a moment here, because you've said that you don't think that police get the respect they necessarily deserve.
Yeah, no, I agree. I actually had the privilege of attending the Republican convention out in Cleveland this year, and I remember I was in my dorm room. They put us in a dorm for the convention, and a big group of people were marching down the street saying "F the police," and I took a video of it and I sent it to my father, and it's like, I can't believe this is happening. But I think, I do think that people are not respecting the police as much as they should.
Elise mentioned Black Lives Matter. What is your thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, I understand where that came from, and I do believe Black Lives Matter, but I think all lives matter too. And I realize that, we can do a better job with the African American community on certain issues, but I think it's important to recognize that all lives matter in this country, including police officers.
Yes, you want to say something?
Yeah, I'm going to say too, I've grown up in Manhattan my entire life, and I really respect the New York Police Department. I think the work that they do is amazing. This city is constantly dealing with something, whether it's somebody who was shot, someone who was stabbed, terror threats, and you look at the people who put their lives on the lines first, and it's policemen. I don't think policemen get anywhere near the amount of credit that they should get, because they put their lives on the line on a daily basis. And it bothers me to see this new wave of anti-police sentiment, because these people put their lives on the line, and they're not appreciated whatsoever.
You want to say something, Dewan?
I have to say something about the law enforcement lives matter and the rhetoric saying that the hatred and dislike of the police. That's not really true. What we're really saying is that we want respect as human beings here in the United States. So when we're talking about this rhetoric, like as if it's something that's Blue Lives Matter and that means it's Black Lives Matter is anti-police. No, we're saying that we need and we demand to be respected, to live and exist with dignity in here with everyone else. That's what Black Lives Matter means. If we was to talk about all lives matter, we won't even be having this discussion about why Black lives should matter. We're demanding that level of respect and dignity that everybody else receive when you walk the streets of United States of America.
I want to say something, yes.
Jessica Mahoney, 25. I am voting for Donald Trump. My husband's a police officer. I go through this every day. I say goodbye to him, and I don't know that I'll ever say hello to him ever again. He leaves for work to protect our community. He does so in a professional manner. He's often faced with many situations where he has less than maybe even a second to make a decision. And I'm a lawyer. I get to make decisions based on case law, based on much consideration, debate, discussion. He has 1 second to make a decision, and that second is then scrutinized on the news. His life is not protected. And listen, I understand the Black Lives Matter movement. I understand what you're saying. But at the same time, you also have to consider the fact that many of these Black Lives Matter events have turned into something that has put my husband, who is there just as security to make sure that nothing happens, has turned his job now to an extremely unsafe job. And so now I'm concerned about whether he's going to make it home at night, because your rally has turned into something that has put his life in danger.
How do you think these two major party candidates have been addressing Islamophobia? Yes. Tell us your name.
My name is Yasmin. I am a graduate student at NYU, and I focus on policy, public policy, and international policy. I'm voting for Hillary Clinton. In terms of Islamophobia, I feel that this election was very divisive. I've never been more afraid in my life than I have been throughout this election. As a Muslim woman, I have been attacked. I have heard crazy things, like people scream stuff at me. They say things to me, and it's not something that is unique to just me. It is across the Muslim community in this country. Islamophobia, since the start of this election season, has skyrocketed. A lot of it comes from Trump, and some of it does come from the Democratic Party. Besides being an African American woman, I didn't know that it could reach this level, because now I'm Black and I'm Muslim, and everywhere I go somebody hates me. It's a whole different world out there. So I think that a lot of what has been said on the side of the Republican Party, and specifically from Donald Trump, just saying that we need to have a list of people or a roster of all the Muslims. Some of that rhetoric reminds me of things that people did during the Holocaust. And so what I'm looking for in a president is somebody who can unite the people so that we can begin to heal as a nation.
Caitlin, what do you think about some of what she just said? And what do you think about the rhetoric that we have heard from Donald Trump when it comes to Muslims?
Obviously, I'm not a Muslim and I'm not African American, so I can't relate to Trump's rhetoric the same way that some people in this room can. And I said that it was so funny that we were sitting next to each other. I was like, "Are you a Trump supporter?" And she's like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Well, that would have been a wild card." But my issue with Islamophobia is that a lot of people, I've experienced it at my own college. I say I'm a Trump supporter, and they immediately think I'm racist, I'm Islamophobic. And, I had a professor go to my dean and say I was Islamophobic and I was a white supremacist. That's not okay. A professor I've never met, never had class with. So just because someone's a Trump supporter doesn't mean, they're out to get you, doesn't mean they hate you. I think that that's a problem in this election. We automatically jump to conclusions that a Trump supporter is this bad, uneducated person. And that's not really the case.
How do you think the rhetoric has contributed to that, though, Caitlin? Do you think it has?
Definitely it has, because it's riled up a community of people that feel like they've been suppressed for a lifetime. So now we're seeing Trump's rhetoric feed into, Black Lives Matter movements being more angry and Muslims being more angry. So I think that it's causing violence at some point.
All right, Kyle. Where's Kyle? Kyle.
My name is Kyle Harvey. I'm 29. Yeah, I think this election For me personally, being African American has been very eye-opening. Again, not all Donald Trump supporters may not be racist, but seeing his rhetoric, it shows to me unfamiliarity, with people that don't look like or act like him. I shouldn't be at a point to tell my little cousins or family members about the hate speech that they get from their classmates, in elementary school, is because they heard Trump say it. It's disheartening. And earlier comment about police officers, versus the Black Lives Matter, the African American community. To me personally, divisiveness that's come in this country has been taking something that is an occupation and putting it against something that I can't get fired from my skin color. That's the problem with selection for me. One is a choice. You have a choice to be a cop. You sign that. You go through training for that. There ain't no choice being black. And Trump has normalized his talk and has put a lot of lives in danger.
Caitlin.
Here's the thing. Trump hasn't been in the White House, so to say that Trump tore our country apart at the seams and created this racial division, no way. President Obama was the one who was in the White House for 8 years, and race relations have been worse than ever in this country. So I don't think that you can blame Donald Trump, someone who's running for president who hasn't made it to the White House. Let's look at who is in office, an African-American man who has torn apart this country. We need to look at that.
I don't think Islamophobia is okay in any way, shape, or form. And I think this country is building off of a great amount of fear. All of us are very concerned about our safety, and I think that it has manifested itself in something that it shouldn't have. I don't think Islamophobia is a good thing, and I don't think that anybody should be profiled racially. I'm just trying to, while I don't personally agree with it, I'm just trying to show people a little bit of where it comes from, this incredible fear, because all of a sudden on a normal day, the worst terrorist attack in the entire country happened, and it shaped my life for 15 years. I can't even explain how terrified I was to get on a plane. I can't even explain how terrified I was when at 4 years old I learned what death was for the first time.
As a millennial who would identify himself with the Black Lives Matters movement, I think to say that race relations have gotten as bad as they've ever been under President Obama shows a lack of historical depth. Or to say that President Obama is the cause of racial division in America shows a lack of historical depth. America is built on racial division. And Donald Trump rhetoric, this otherism, that the further you are away from being a white heterosexual male, you are other. So that whether you are homosexual, whether you are a practicing Muslim, whether you are African American, whether you are a woman, you are an other. And his rhetoric builds into that narrative that has long been the narrative of American society.
All right, I want to move back to this notion of living in a post 9/11 world. Immediately after 9/11, of course, the focus was on Al-Qaeda. Now, of course, a lot of the rhetoric is focused on ISIS. And I'm wondering what you think about that, the candidates' focus on ISIS when it comes to this notion of national security. Yes.
I'm Allison Kukos. I'm 20, and honestly, all I really know is I'm not with her, and I don't support Hillary Clinton. But in terms of national security, you've seen over the past 8 years with Obama, we haven't been doing what we've needed to. There's that red line that it got crossed and nothing ever happened. You look at what Russia's doing, you look at what China's doing, and the United States hasn't taken action the way we've needed to. And it's really disconcerting as a young American to look at Hillary Clinton and what she's done as Secretary of State and seen some of the shortcomings that happened under her tenure. And you look at it and wonder, well, if she becomes president, what's going to happen? I'm not saying Trump is in the right and, he's going to implement the best policy. But some of his comments about vetting, those are things that need to happen. This idea that when people come to the United States, they don't need to be vetted is just wrong. We've done that for years. My grandfather came through Ellis Island and he was stopped there because he was sick. And so when you look at national security, we need to have strong borders. We need to have a strong national defense. And we need to make sure this country's protected. And maybe it stems from my lack of trust of Mrs. Clinton, but I don't think she's going to do that.
All right, we have to move on to immigration because it goes along the lines of what we were talking about here earlier, extreme vetting, right? This is something that kind of goes hand in hand. 41% of millennials who were surveyed recently think that the number of immigrants in the U.S. actually should be decreased. 41%. millennials. What do you all think about that? Yes.
So both my parents are immigrants. I'm their proud daughter. I carry on their legacy. I take their identity as part of my own. And I truly think that our country is strengthened when we have a multitude of diversity. We have a multitude of people to draw on, because I feel like it enriches our experience. And we honestly learn more when we're surrounded by people who are not like us. I'm very, very saddened to hear that statistic that people say that we should be more alike. I think assimilation is one of the greatest enemies of making progress as a country. I think the best we've ever been is when we've been separate units but together, not just one kind of assimilated same unit.
Yes, go ahead.
There's just a certain demonization of being an American. It seems nowadays, our age, that there's a certain stigma that comes along with it. It's almost embarrassment. There's a guilt of being American, and that to me is disturbing. There's a reason why people come here. There's a love for this country. Come here legally. That's what Trump is proposing. It is not rocket science to figure this out. We've always been like this. Without a country, we're not a country without borders. Try to see if you can go in a country like North Korea or China illegally. See what happens. You can, even Italy. Look at Europe as a disaster in a nutshell.
Are you worried about the number of immigrants coming into this country?
Yes, ma'am.
And why is that?
It is just, it's such a shackle on the economy. It's such a shackle on looking around on the stigma. Look at what it says. Look what the message is if we're letting people in illegally. Look at what it's saying. Look at our leaders are not powerful. We are weak on immigration. Look at Europe. Now, they are a warning sign. They are a harbor of what's to come in America. They're a warning sign.
Yes.
So I work with refugees. Let me tell you something about, for those of you that are speaking to what you know about refugees and immigration who have only knowledge from what you've read. I encourage you to go meet some immigrants, go meet some refugees, go see what it takes to get to this country, go see the vetting system, go help a refugee work through an asylum application. I'm telling you, I've talked to countless refugees who speak of how much they love this country, and these guys are living in a basement of a church on cots, and they, and it's very, very difficult.
Alexis, I know this issue of immigration is very important to you.
First, I want to start off by saying that, does everybody here know what was the #1 minority who fought in World War II? In Latin American terms? It was Mexicans. Mexicans were made the majority of Latinos fighting in World War II. I just want to throw that out there because someone mentioned Normandy. But with that being said, what to me immigration really represents is the fact that as the United States as a whole, we have always been, maybe throughout history perhaps bitterly, but we've always been inclusive. We've always allowed people to come in. And now what we're seeing with illegal immigration is that we have 11.4 million people, 12 million people here in the United States. And as a humanitarian effort, to have a deportation force, to go door to door, or to go towards state to state, will require a huge amount of humanitarian violations. For what Trump has been saying is that these people are criminals. So since they're criminals, we can just take them all out. But the argument is that these people are under our rules. So because they're under our rules, then they have to go through the court system. They all have to have their cases heard. So we're already gonna, just with that, we're gonna pack an already a choked court system. So one of the things that I really stand with Hillary Clinton on is the fact that she proposes not amnesty, but a way towards citizenship, a way for these people who have already established an economic life here. They already contribute to the economy. They have already established their lives here. Their children go to the school, and a majority of them circulate their wealth here. A lot of them don't have a family back at home, so a majority of the money that they spend is right here in this economy. My parents are immigrants, and they spend all their money here. They circulate their money. We don't even really save anymore because it's just gotten to that point economically. But to me, it's not about that. It's about the fact that a lot of people don't realize that when you're so-called undocumented, or you're illegal, or you're an alien, this life that you have acquired for yourself can be ripped from you at any point in time. And these are people who might have come from when they were young kids through no fault of their own. Now, I'm not saying that every undocumented immigrant is perfect. we're all people, and because we're all people, we're prone to commit crimes. Not in general, crime. There's no way of ever eliminating crime 100%, but the statistics show that immigrants are in fact less prone to commit crimes, because someone mentioned that there was a stigma to being American. There's not stigma, at least in my opinion. I'm a proud American. I've always said that to people. I'm proud to be American. And many of these people, that's all they want to be, American. They want to be able to say, look, I'm not an alien. I'm from this planet. I'm from the United States. I'm from America. I'm American.
All right, and with that, I'm standing up because we're out of time. Where did the time go? I have no idea, but I have a couple of last questions for you. And this is actually, I think this is kind of a tough question, but an easy question too. If the candidate that you are supporting does not win, what is it that you want the winner of this election to know most? What's that one most important thing? Yes.
I sit here and I'm smiling a lot, hopefully not weirdly in the camera, but I'm smiling because I'm undecided, but I'm leaning towards Hillary Clinton, and I'm smiling because, this is what needs to be done, and we are millennials, obviously, the whole saying that we are the future, and he made a great point. Now, how come we can do this, but politicians can't do this? So to answer your question, this needs to be at the forefront of whoever's elected to not only create conversation, but to market it and to expose it that this is what we're doing. This is the only way that we can solve problems. As he made a great point. How can you really speak about, in terms of empathy, about refugees and immigrants and why they come over here if you're just getting this on what you see in mass media, on what you read, instead of going in there and talking to them and understanding them, okay, you've done all these things to get here. Why? My girlfriend is Peruvian, and her family did a lot of things to get over here. However, they're citizens of this country, business owners that hire other people. But we need candidates that once they're in office to stop all this divisiveness. Us millennials, we're against this. This turns us off. We're the reality TV generation, but we don't want reality TV in our politics. To create a foundation of conversation and to make sure that it's exposed in the media and continue it going forward.
All right. Anybody here that has not actually spoken? Yes, please, go ahead. You want to say something? Yes, please.
My name is Michaela Bishop. I'm 20 years old, and I go to Manhattan College in the Bronx. If I got to tell the next president one thing, I would tell them that this is the most progressive democracy in the entire world, but we need work done. And that includes not making America great again. That includes making America better than it's ever has been. So I believe that what we needs to be done needs to be done through our command, and I think that hopefully they take the authority.
Okay. All right. How are we doing on time? Yes.
My name is Picality. I'm 20 years old, and I'm voting for Clinton. What I want to tell the next president is that we need to focus on climate change and sustainability initiatives. All social issues and foreign issues of policy, they're so important, but we're not going to have any of that if we don't focus on saving our planet and developing sustainability plans in order to keep us here.
All right, last question here. As a voting bloc, do you feel like millennials have been heard this election cycle? Yes.
Thank you. I think on the Trump side of the campaign, I think if anything, we've been deterred from having a voice. I think that Trump recognizes that if we do our civil duty and go out and vote, then that could cost him the election. One of the primary reasons why I'm more supportive of the Clinton election and will be voting for Hillary Clinton is because I feel like I have a voice, and I feel that she creates this sense of inclusive, whether it be generationally or sex or race or culturally. So I certainly feel that whoever goes on to become president of the United States needs to ensure this sense of inclusivity, including our generation.
Yes. Feel like your voice has been heard. Yes.
I agree completely. I think this event in itself shows that millennials are not only out there and we do care, but that people are realizing that, and that we do decide ultimately what happens, and we will be the biggest voting bloc. And so this event here today and other millennial events show that we all care, and that's being heard.
All right. Yes.
I would say within the Hillary administration, we're heard more within the Hillary administration than the Hillary Clinton camp we're hurt more in the Hillary camp opposed to the Donald Trump camp. However, with the millennials being one of the largest majorities of voting population, I believe that some of our issues are not coming into the forefront of this election, going beyond just how we're hearing less about student loans and the economy when in reference to millennials.
All right, feel like you're heard, yes.
I don't think as millennials we're often heard in the political realm. I think events like this are obviously great and it gets our voice out there. I would say to all of us to, regardless what happens in this election, to get out and hold government accountable, because we run the government and they don't run us. So I always encourage people and my peers to go down to DC, meet with your representatives, get involved with lobbying, because we can't just be concerned about these issues every time, an election comes around. These are issues that are every day. They're working on it down in DC. I don't know if they are, but don't be afraid to write letters, emails. I do it all the time. They respond. So I think regardless, what happens in this election, we need to unite, we need to hold government accountable, and we need to get involved as millennials.
All right, and with that, I want to say thank you to all of you for your very thoughtful comments, for your respectful tone. This has been a great conversation. I hope you guys agree. I don't get a chance to sit down with this many millennials very often, but it has been so enriching to hear how much it is that you care. So thank you all for that. Thanks also to our friends at YouTube for this wonderful space here in New York City. And to continue the conversation, go to social media with the hashtag CBS Millennials. Thanks to you all. Talk to you soon.